In today's episode of the ZMAJ Media podcast, we'll talk about and break down City and City 2's performances over the weekend. We'll get some exciting Bosnian soccer and sports news, and much more. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the second ever episode of the ZMAJ Media podcast. I'm your host, Dino Soljanovic. You can find me on X at Dino_zigzag, and on X, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at the ZMAJ Media accounts. If you haven't already, be sure to follow our pages and subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on those post notifications so that you never miss another ZMAJ Media episode. First and foremost, I wanted to thank everyone who has supported me in my journey with ZMAJ Media so far. I really appreciate it, and you're helping me live out one of my lifelong dreams of becoming a sports journalist, and I very much appreciate that, and thank you all for that. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So, there's a lot of football matches that are taking place this week. The UEFA Super Cup was yesterday, a good comeback victory for PSG on penalties, despite trailing 2-0 to Tottenham. But as Giorgio Chiellini once said, that's the history of the Tottenham right there. Also, what do we think of Tottenham? You guys know the rest. Now, moving on, the Carabao Cup returned this week. The Efl Championship returned over the weekend, but the big ones are returning this weekend with the return of La Liga, Ligue 1, and the Premier League. Can't wait to see my mighty Arsenal miss out on yet another title. Just kidding, obviously. Come on, you Gunners. The Coppa Italia also returns this Friday, as well as the German Super Cup taking place over the weekend as well. So a lot of good football is returning this week and in the past few days, but I wanted to return and focus on the EFL Championship and a little bit of what has happened so far in those. And then we'll get to some St. Louis City news and breakdowns towards the end of the show. There's been some exciting news for Bosnian fans of the championship, which I'll get into in a bit. But the first thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the EFL Championship was St. Louis native and U.S. men's national team forward Josh Sargent. Josh Sargent has been on fire for Norwich this season so far, despite rumors of him leaving the club earlier in the summer. He has shown up and performed for them. He started off the campaign this season so far by captaining Norwich City against Millwall and even scoring a bit of an odd goal in the 55th minute of the match. However, Norwich sadly ended up losing this match. Then, in the Carabao Cup, Josh Sargent once again captained Norwich, however this time to a nice 2-1 victory against Watford, where he scored in the 10th minute, which was his 50th goal for the club. So congrats to Josh on this accolade and on his good performance so far this season. Hopefully he can bring that form into the U.S. men's national team next time, and also carry that form into the 2026 World Cup in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Now, staying on the theme of Norwich, Bosnian goalkeeper Vladan Kovacevic made his championship debut for the Canaries in net, conceding 2 goals in that 2-1 loss against Millwall. However, though, Bosnian fans aren't so fond of Vladan due to him trying to switch his nationality after not getting called up, and he tried to play for the Serbian national team, but this request was eventually rejected by FIFA. In my opinion, however, Vladan is a decent goalkeeper. At the moment, he's in a bit of a slump due to his move to Sporting Lisbon not working out the best. They eventually then sent him on loan to Legia Warsaw, and then eventually sold him to Norwich this summer. I wish him all the best, and hope he does well with Norwich this season. And I would also like to see him sort some things out with Bosnian FA and Bosnian fans, and hope to see him potentially get another chance in the national team. However, I think it's still going to be difficult for him to get in the national team, because I think it's pretty hard to keep out St. Pauli goalkeeper Nikola Vasil out of the national team, but let me know what you guys think. Now, staying on the topic of Bosnian goalkeepers in the championship, Bosnian legend Asmir Begovic signed for former Premier League champions Leicester City. He will most likely be their backup keeper this season and was on the bench in their 2-1 championship win over Sheffield Wednesday. He was also on the bench for their Carabao Cup tie yesterday, so yeah. Now, moving forward and staying on the topic of Bosnians in the championship, Sergej Jakirovic made his championship managerial debut on the bench for Hull City. He made his debut in a 0-0 draw to Frank Lampard's Coventry City, who are currently one of the favorites to get promoted to the Premier League this season. In my opinion, it was a pretty good result for Jakirovic's first match. Both teams had some good moments and some sloppy moments within the match, but overall not a bad performance for either side. However, I can't say the same for Jakirovic's Carabao Cup draw. Jakirovic's Hull City had a 3-1 lead against Wrexham, owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney, going into the 90th minute. They then conceded in the 90th and 91st minute of added time, and ended up losing to Wrexham after a 3-3 draw in penalties. A very unfortunate result for Jakirovic, Hull, and Hull City fans, but in my opinion, it was a great match for neutral football fans who don't support either team. Hopefully, Jakirovic does well with Hull this season. I wish him the best of luck. He's had some good spells in Turkey. Obviously, he pulled off the great escape with Kayserispor. He had a great spell in Croatia with Rijeka, and then Dinamo Zagreb, where he was sacked after the infamous 8-2 loss against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And then he also managed Zrinjski Mostar in the Bosnian Premier League, and he was a former Bosnian international. Now, sticking to the topic of Zrinjski Mostar and Bosnian football in general, Zrinjski Mostar actually secured qualification for the UEFA Europa Conference League today, after they beat an Icelandic side. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. 2-1, I believe. So yeah, they're going through to the last round of Europa League qualifiers, and then they've also guaranteed themselves Europa Conference League qualifiers, so congrats to them. Moving on now to overall Bosnian football and sports news, we have a lot to talk about. Armin Gigovic has finalized his move from Bundesliga 2 side Holstein Kiel. He will be transferring over to BSC Young Boys of the Swiss Super League. Young Boys activated his release clause of around 1.5 to 2 million euros. A decent move in my opinion, but I believe it could have been a lot better for him if he had gone to maybe a mid-table Bundesliga side, if that was an option. I mean, no offense against the Swiss league, but there's definitely better competition in the Bundesliga, which is the league Gigovic played in last season. Sadly, though, his Holstein Kiel side was relegated from the Bundesliga. Overall, though, a decent move for him to a decent club. Is known to compete in European football. So, obviously, best of luck to Armin this season. There could also potentially be another move for a Bosnian player on the horizon, with Bosnian international midfielder Dario Saric not being a part of Filippo Inzaghi's plans at Palermo this season. From what I'm hearing, it is a done deal for him to rejoin Antalyaspor in the Turkish Super League, who he spent some time on loan with during the 23-24 season. I've heard this from some sources close to the club, so I believe he should be unveiled in the next couple of days, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, a decent move for him. Potentially he'll get some more play time. Like I said, in the last few days, there's been a bunch of different sources. The deal was nearing completion, but I think it's now officially done, and he should be signing and unveiled for them in the next couple of days. So stay tuned to my personal X for updates on the deal. Now, in more Bosnian football news, we have some great performances to talk about. Bosnian star boy Kerim Alajbegovic. This is a player not only for Bosnians to look out for, but the whole world, in my opinion, should be on watch of this young talent. A great performance for him for RB Salzburg in the Austrian Bundesliga this past weekend. He grabbed himself an assist and a goal from a beautiful long-range strike. He's only 17 years old and joined this summer from Bayer Leverkusen. He was on the bench a few times last season for Xabi Alonso's side at the time. Obviously, now they're managed by Erik ten Hag. Sadly, though, over the past week, Salzburg were eliminated by Club Brugge in Champions League qualification. But, ladies and gentlemen, remember the name Kerim Alajbegovic. Another great performer has been right back Amar Dedic for Benfica. He's been playing a big role in their Champions League qualification this season. He's been looking very dangerous on the right-hand side, and is also another player I believe people should keep an eye out on this season, because I believe he's playing with something to prove. After his loan move last season didn't go the best at Marseille, he also previously played for RB Salzburg in the Austrian Bundesliga, and he was a great player with his time at the club. I believe he even captained the club at one point. So yeah, those two are ones to definitely keep an eye out on this season, because I think they're both going to finally have a breakout year. Now, the last piece of Bosnian sports news is going to be focusing on the Eurobasket team. Bosnian basketball head coach Adis Baciragic called out NBA player and Bosnian international center Jusuf Nurkic. He called him out after Bosnia has struggled in their preparations for this year's Eurobasket tournament. Baciragic said Nurkic is out of shape and can barely run. So at the moment, it's looking very scary for our national basketball team ahead of Eurobasket, as they've had some poor form in their exhibition matches prior to the tournament. I believe they haven't won a single one of their exhibition matches going into the tournament, so it's looking very worrisome at the moment. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying that we could be a dark horse for this tournament. We showed some flashes of brilliance in the qualification, but right now it's just not going well at the moment. So hopefully we can turn around our form. I would say just like our national football team, we are either in great form and there's euphoria around the national team, or we play like San Marino, which is no offense to San Marino, but they're definitely not the greatest sporting nation, obviously. Which, speaking of San Marino, a perfect example of Bosnian national teams ruining fans' hopes was when our national football team, after starting their qualification this year well for the FIFA World Cup, they nearly struggled to beat San Marino at home, and it took for 39-year-old Bosnian legend, Bosnian Diamond, and current Fiorentina striker Edin Dzeko to come on off the bench to score the one and only goal of the match. In my opinion, this is probably one of our worst performances ever. I would say that performance against San Marino was worse than our 7-0 loss to Germany. I mean, Germany is at least a very good nation, a great nation when it comes to football, in comparison to San Marino, who aren't the greatest, which that clearly showed also that Bosnia is no longer a decent national team. But, hopefully our national football team can get it together and qualify for the World Cup, and hopefully our national basketball team can regain form in Eurobasket and potentially become a dark horse for this year's tournament. Now, finally, the moment you've been waiting for. I'll be moving on to St. Louis City and City 2 news and talk about their performance this last weekend. But before that, I wanted to congratulate another St. Louis soccer team on announcing their participation recently in the U.S. Open Cup. So congratulations to Boffs STL for announcing that they will be playing in the U.S. Open Cup, and they have a fire U.S. Open Cup kit coming on the way. So congratulations to them, and I also want to thank them for following the ZMAJ social media pages. Now, finally, let's get into some St. Louis City soccer. Now, let's first start by breaking down City's win against Nashville SC. A great 3-1 victory for City SC, and in my opinion, one of our best, if not our best performance of the season. Both sides lined up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. City's lineup consisted of Roman Berkey in net, Haziel Orozco at right back, Timo Baumgartel at right center back, Falou Fall making his MLS debut at left center back, Daniel Predelford at left back. Then in the midfield, there was a double pivot at CDM consisting of Edo Lovin and Alfredo Morales, who was replaced by Akil Watts in the 86th minute. Then in the attacking mid roles, there was Marcel Hartl at left mid / left winger, who was replaced by JGR in the 86th. Sengbin Jung, who was replaced by Celio Pompeu in the 70th minute, was at the right mid / right winger role. Tomas Ostrak at center attacking mid, who was replaced by Makai Joyner, who we'll talk about in a bit. And finally, Joao Klaus, who was replaced by Simon Betcher as the lone striker leading an attack, and he was replaced by Betcher in the 62nd minute. St. Louis City opened the scoring in the 23rd minute when City right back Haziel Orozco scored his first MLS goal and was then awarded with some toasted raviolis by the STL Santos. So congrats to Haziel on his first MLS goal. Haziel even got himself into the MLS Team of the Match Day, which was very much deserved after this great performance on Saturday night, and what a night it was for him and City. Congrats once again to Haziel. City then grabbed their second in the 39th minute by the way of City's leading goal scorer this season, Joao Klaus. And this goal was assisted by Edo Lovin. In the 66th minute, Sengbin Jung then grabbed his first MLS goal this season and his first goal for St. Louis City. So congrats to Sengbin, who has looked pretty decent since joining from Minnesota United. In the 85th minute then, Hani Mukhtar converted from the penalty spot in what many believed to be a controversial penalty. However, the goal eventually stood, and City went on to win the match 3-1. Some more match notes and facts included Falou Fall making his MLS debut after signing with City SC on July 15th. He was one of City's best players on the pitch and earned himself the Man of the Match award, so congrats to him, and what a performance. I'm very excited to see more of what is to come from him and what he can bring to St. Louis City. In this match, Haziel Orozco joined Johnny Klein as the second player to score an MLS goal after signing with the first team from City 2. Joao Klaus earned his 8th goal of the MLS season, 10th across all competitions, and he leads the team currently in goals this season. Devin Padelford earned his 3rd goal third career assist, on the goal from Jaziel Orozco. Edward Lovin tallied his second assist of the night on the goal from Klaus, and 25th in all competitions for City SC. Lovin became the first player in club history to reach 20 career assists in regular season play with his assist on the Sangbin goal. Simon Betcher picked up his first assist of the season and 7th of his career. City SC improved their all-time regular season home record against Eastern Conference teams to 6-2-2. The team has a plus 12 goal difference in those matches, so it was pretty nice to see City grabbing themselves a win, a great performance, and hopefully gaining some momentum going into their match against the Chicago Fire at SeatGeek Stadium at 7:30 p.m. this Saturday. We'll be previewing that match to wrap up the episode. Now, going back to the topic of Mekhi Joyner, Joyner was called up for the Nashville SC match on short-term agreement. In case you're unsure what that means, let me refresh you. Under MLS roster guidelines, off-roster homegrown players like Joyner are eligible to appear in league matches only when called up on a short-term basis. These players may appear as short-term call-ups in up to 6 MLS regular season matches per season. As many of you may know, Mekhi's appearance in the Nashville match was his 6th and final short-term appearance this season. Lutz Van Steel spoke about Mekhi on sports on a Sunday morning on KMOX. He pretty much said that he wants Mekhi to continue playing a big role in City 2, considering they have a very good chance of going far into this year's playoffs and potentially winning themselves some silverware. And he also said that he wants to continue seeing Mekhi get opportunities next season and into the future. Now, going back to Sunday in St. Louis City 2, City 2 played against Colorado Rapids 2 at Energizer Park. In this match, St. Louis City 2 extended their unbeaten streak to 12 matches with a 5-4 penalty shootout victory over Colorado Rapids 2. After competitive back-and-forth play within the first two halves, Miguel Perez started scoring for City 2 in the first half stoppage time, tallying his 6th goal of the season off an assist from Emil Jaskalainen. Colorado then responded with 2 goals to take the 2-1 lead in the second half, but Mekhi Joyner leveled the match in the 81st minute when he stepped up to the spot and scored a crucial penalty. After regulation, the match went into a penalty shootout as Christian Olivares made a crucial save and Brendan McSorley buried the game-winning penalty kick to give City 2 the 2 extra points. With the win, City 2 maintains a firm grip atop the MLS Next Pro overall standings with 48 points. St. Louis City 2 faces North Texas SC for the final time this season this Saturday, August 16th at 7:45 p.m. Central Time at Socktawa Stadium. So they're away from home this weekend, and we'll preview that match in a bit. I actually got to attend the City 2 match over the weekend and covered it on my X, providing some live updates. In my opinion, there were some good moments for both sides, some very sloppy ones as well. There was a lot of chances, and it was a very entertaining match. First teamers Conrad Wallum and Chris Durkin featured as they were suspended, so they couldn't feature in the Nashville match, as well as Henry Kessler off the bench, returning from injury. I got to speak with Kess after the match, and asked him about his former teammate and Bosnian international, Esmir Bajraktarevic. He told me he was a big fan of Esmir and a good friend of his, and he hopes he's doing well at PSV. So it's nice to see Kessler back and healthy, and nice to see City 2 extend their unbeaten run. We'll preview that next match towards the end of the episode as well. Now, before we get to the previews of St. Louis City and City 2's next matches, let's talk about some interesting St. Louis City news. This piece of news that we have to talk about is Coach David Critchell's comments after practice about Xande Silva. So, after practice a few days back, Tom Timmerman of the Post-Dispatch asked Critch about Xande Silva and what he has to do to get back into the team and get playtime, and what Critch isn't seeing in him. Critch said it's about the training, and good training gets every player their first opportunity under him. He also said that it's nothing against Xande or anyone on the team, but nobody is bigger than the team. So what I'm guessing from this most likely alludes to Xande not having the best work ethic and attitude in training. So I'm interested in seeing what the club has in plan for Xande Silva moving forward, and what they have in plan not just for him for the remainder of this season, but going into the off season. Now, finally moving on to St. Louis City and City 2's next matches, let's first talk about City 2 and then move on to the first team. We're going to mainly cover North Texas SC and keep the City 2 talk short because we brought them up earlier. North Texas SC currently sits in 7th place in the Western Conference with 31 points and a 8-8-4 record. At Socktawa Stadium this year, North Texas holds a 4-4-1 record, but haven't won a game at home since July 3rd. Forward Sam Sarver leads North Texas and the league in goals scored with 15 goals. Makai Joyner is currently behind him in the Golden Boot race. Midfielder Anthony Ramirez leads the team with 6 assists. North Texas's last outing was against Austin FC2, with North Texas winning 6-5 on penalty kicks. City 2 has had plenty of success against North Texas SC this season, earning a 3-0 clean sheet to open the 2025 season, and most recently winning 2-0 on June 4th. The match was interim head coach and City technical director John Hackworth's first win. Brendan McSorley, Miguel Perez, Emilio Escalante, Mateo Kidd, and an own goal have contributed to the season wins so far this season. So a fun matchup to keep a lookout on this weekend. Now, moving on to the City first team. They take on Chicago Fire this weekend in the Windy City at SeatGeek Stadium. Chicago Fire are led by former U.S. men's national team manager Greg Berhalter, who is also the father of U.S. Gold Cup and MLS midfielder Sebastian Berhalter. Berhalter's side currently sits 7th in the Eastern Conference on 36 points with a record of 10-6-9. They currently hold a +5 goal difference with 47 goals scored and 42 conceded. Their leading goal scorers include Hugo Kuipers with 14, Philip Zinkernagel with 10, sorry if I butchered any of these last names, Brian Gutierrez with 7, Jonathan Bamba with 4, and Tom Barlow with 3. A player on their side to watch out for in this match would be Belgian striker Hugo Kuipers, who has been great for them this season, scoring 16 goals in 27 appearances across all competition. He currently holds a shot accuracy of around 70%, and a goal every 118 minutes is what he averages. So an exciting side for St. Louis City to watch out for, and an exciting player for City and City fans to watch out for. Now moving on to St. Louis City, the rivalry between these two sides is still fairly young, with just 2 previous meetings in the regular season before this weekend's clash in Chicago. In City's first ever season, they lost 1-0 to Chicago at Soldier Field, but bounced back last season with a 3-1 victory at home thanks to a brace from Joao Klaus. Since joining the league in 2023, St. Louis holds a 7-7-4 record against Eastern Conference opponents. As you may know as well, St. Louis brought in 3 new faces during the transfer window, with Sang-Bin Jung, Devin Padelford, both arriving from Minnesota United, and Falou Fall joining from Fredrikstad in Norway, who we'll talk a little more about in a bit. The recent match against Nashville marked Fall's MLS debut and the first time all 3 newcomers featured together for City SC. Padelford notched his first assist for the club, while Sang-Bin scored his first goal for the club. Fall made an immediate impact defensively, finishing the night with an 86% pass accuracy, 4 recoveries, 4 duels won, and 3 tackles won. He was also man of the match during that Nashville match. Now let's talk about the comments head coach David Critchley made in his pre-match presser. He said he didn't want to put a lot of emphasis on them playing away from home. They know that they haven't picked up many points this season on the road. However, coming into this match after a great performance against Nashville and having a good week of training, he feels that they are prepared against Chicago, and he has a good feeling about going on the road this time. He believes there shouldn't be any added pressure about going on the road. He believes he has seen a lot of improvement and hopes that the good performances will lead into good results. The training the last couple of weeks have been good, according to him. Cedric Toysart, however, is day-to-day after missing training today. However, he has been doing some individual work so that he can stay sharp and stay fit. Chris Durkin and Conrad Wallum are both back after being suspended last match, and they obviously both featured in the City 2 victory, or City 2 penalty victory over the weekend, as I should say, draw in regulation. There was good numbers and good competition in training. Compared to Nashville, he believes Chicago's threat will come from the wider areas, opposed to Nashville, who played mostly through the center. He said the team has adjusted based on these tactics and based on the threats coming in different areas of the pitch this time around. He believes both Henry Kessler and Chris Durkin are ready to go 90 minutes if needed. He believes Falou Fall, who we'll talk about in a bit, is a young, brave, confident man. He said the adjustment for Falou has gone smoothly and the locker room has welcomed him with open arms. He said that Falou can bring a lot of quality on the playing field, and Critch is happy with what he's seen so far. He believes that Chicago is also a rivalry, just like it is in hockey or baseball, within the city. And he believes there's an extra oomph or feeling to this game. He believes there will be some spice in this game and some physicality, and it will be a pretty exciting game to watch out for. So Senegalese defender Falou Fall also talked in the presser after Kritz gave some good and optimistic moments and comments. So Falou Fall, I thought he had some fun stuff he brought up. I wanted to bring up the fact that he said his dream league is the English league, so most likely the Premier League. He also spoke about the physicality within the MLS and how he likes to play that way, and that's a big reason why his dream league is the Premier League. He also mentioned, this was very interesting, and a lot of math calculations. Math's definitely not one of my strong suits, so I don't think I would have ever thought of something like this. He wears the number 95 because by adding his birthday, his wife's birthday, which I didn't know he had a wife until now. I thought he was still fairly young. So, I mean, good luck with him. Hope he's in a nice and happy marriage. And, I just found that interesting. I wasn't expecting it because he's only 21. But, yeah. Back to my point, though. He adds his birthday, his wife's birthday, the day he got married, and his best friend's birthday. So some interesting stuff on how he got, how he chose the number 95, and some interesting stuff we heard from City's new man. And I mean, I can't wait to see what he brings to St. Louis City. I mean, he was very impressive in the Nashville match. Obviously, like I said, he won man of the match. When I was looking up the starting lineup earlier on FotMob, it also said he was the highest rated player in that match for City. So great performance from him. Great performance from City's backline as well, with Jaziel Orozco obviously grabbing the goal, Daniel Podelford grabbing an assist on that goal. So a very strong match. So it's going to be interesting to see now with Kessler back and healthy, how all of these players can fit in the backline. Kritz said obviously that in his system, it's going to be hard to fit all three in. It's not possible, but it's going to be very interesting to see who starts and who doesn't. I believe in the next match, we'll probably have a very similar starting 11 to the Nashville match. And, I mean, I don't blame Kritz if that's the way he goes. I mean, we pulled off a great performance, and I think it's finally time for us to bring momentum into this match and for Kritz to finally string together, some wins and hopefully and potentially get his name, as City's permanent manager next season. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. I really appreciate your guys' support, and I appreciate all the support you've given to me and to the podcast and to the social media pages over the past few weeks. You guys are really helping me live out my lifelong dream of becoming a sports journalist / writer / sportscaster. So yeah, I really do thank you guys. If you haven't already, don't forget to follow the ZMAJ media accounts and podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and X / Twitter. Also, don't forget to turn on post notifications on all of those. You can also follow and support me on my personal X at Dino_zigzag. I'm going to be trying to keep the content as consistent as possible. I'm going back to school next week, so it's going to get a little bit more difficult, but I'll try to pump out an episode at least once a week. Hopefully the quality of the episodes can also improve within the next few weeks. But yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day. I'm Dino with ZMAJ Media.